question is, do you agree that Scotland should be an independent country?
For me, the principle that we work best when we work together.
Well, they didn't.
Very serious. The referendum. It seems to me that they're not dealing with the issues.
Hello, this is Scottish Independence podcast number 86. This time we're back to the normal interview format, and the guest is Stephen Paton, who you may know from the Indyref weekly broadcast that he does on YouTube, which is his creation. I asked Stephen about his project, how it's been going. I also asked him his opinions more generally on how the Indyref's been going and why he supports independence. So we'll go straight to the conversation and I'll have a wee word with you at the end. Sorry if I'm a little bit breathy during it, but I wasn't very well during the recording. Hi, Stephen, how's it going?
I'm well, thank you.
You've been doing very well with your programme, and would you like to explain, just to go straight into it, why did you set up the project?
Well, basically I was in a situation where I'd been following the Yes campaign and the No campaign for quite a while, and I wanted to be more involved, and I'd kind of was maybe going to go out canvassing and everything else, but I got to the point I just kept seeing misinformation floating around everywhere. And the language being used with the No campaign was starting to really annoy me, because it always seems like whenever you have someone from the No campaign speaking, they've been briefed by the Better Together brand manager. So you've got, it's always the best of both worlds, we're always better together. It's not independence, it's separation, because that sounds more negative. It just always little digs, and started to get to the point where I wanted to do something. And the kind of, I guess, turning point for me was when the whole Vote No Borders thing came out with Great Ormond Street Hospital, where they came out and said that if we went independent, kids in Scotland who had cancer wouldn't be able to get specialist healthcare. And I was like, right, no, that's it. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to do whatever I can. So I started a blog, and I started writing an article, and I got about halfway through, and then I was like, wait, I run a video production company. Why the hell am I writing a blog? So I went away and made a video instead and put it up online. And it kind of took off, and apparently I was saying something people kind of connected with. And since then, I've been doing one every single week, and they've had a really great response online.
Yeah, it's been going very well. You're getting 6,000, 7,000, 9,000 views on some of them as well. So is it? You said you're running a production company, but in terms of the scripting, is it a kind of one-man band, and then your production company will help you? Because the production values on it are always quite good, but are always very good. Sorry, but do you script it all yourself?
Yeah, it would be nice if I had more help, but no, at the moment I'm doing the researching, writing, filming, presenting, editing, and uploading by myself.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't have much of a social life anymore. That kind of went out the window as we went along. But no, I mean, as we get close to September, I'm hoping to kind of grab a couple of other people and see if we can maybe do a few different things and ramp up what we're putting out.
I know what you're going through, because I do all the editing and all that for this, but this is only audio. I don't have to worry about special effects particularly, so I can't imagine that part of it. But speaking of other things, did you see Dateline Scotland the other day? That's been a welcome addition.
Oh yeah, I did. I really enjoyed that, actually. That's quite nice. It's good that when so much of the campaign sometimes seems like people shouting numbers at one another, and then people shouting facts, and then the other side shouts on the back, that someone can sort of create a news video that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and yeah, it's quite enjoyable.
So you've got the Indyref Weekly, and it's the first few episodes were, you know, a weekly roundup of what's been going on, but I noticed in yesterday's one that there was a little bit of a change of tone. It wasn't so much Indyref Weekly as Indyref for the last 300 years. I don't know, in case anyone hasn't caught it, could you recap what you were saying in it, and then we'll talk about why you wanted to get that point across?
Yeah, absolutely. In the last one, I kind of talked a little bit about, I suppose, Scotland's relationship with Westminster over the last 300 years, and why there's always been an element of Westminster that's been geared towards lowering Scotland's self-esteem and sort of playing with Scotland's identity. If you'll watch TV, you'll always see this myth that we're being subsidised played over and over again, even though for 33 years now we've been a net contributor to the UK. As well as, like, you know, TV baddies are always weird Scots folk, and it's kind of about identity. And the point I was really trying to make in my last video was that when so much of the no side tries to make this entire debate about Alex Salmond and the SNP, and they say, well, I just don't like Alex Salmond, or I just don't like the SNP, and that's why I'm voting no. It's kind of arguing that voting yes just because you don't like David Cameron and the current Tory party is just as bad. So I really want to highlight that what we're really looking at is the relationship we've had for a long, long time, and that's why we should be leaving, because it's not been a good or healthy relationship.
Kind of downtrodden aspect that you sometimes find in Scottish people. You can't do it, we can't do it, there's not, do you think we've been conditioned to be like that?
I definitely think so, a little bit. I mean, I don't want to go into the whole victim complex thing that people throw around, but I mean, I still remember one of my earliest experiences of that was on a school trip when I was in high school, and meeting tourists from England, kids the same age as me, and they asked where I was from, and I said Scotland, and they were like, oh, it's a bit crap up there, isn't it?
Oh.
And I was kind of taken aback because I wasn't expecting that, and I didn't know where this idea came from. And it does seem like, despite everything Scotland contributes, there is this weird thing where it's a bit crap in Scotland, even though we have some of the world's leading universities, we have this whole life sciences thing, we're pushing forward in these old digital industries. It's kind of, I don't understand where it comes from, and it kind of feels like this image of things being a bit crap does come from the relationship where we're not an equal partner.
Yeah, I mean, you could also think about that in terms of Ireland. People down south often tend to think that Ireland's still a bit of a backwater, whereas on all the human development indexes and indicators, they actually tend to do a lot better than the United Kingdom. But people seem to have that idea about Ireland as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes across on, I guess, the media that we watch on, well, the media that we consume, as well as even the silly jokes that we make. But there's definitely a lot to do with identity in the UK in terms of how other people see us and how other people either look up to us or look down to us.
Yeah, and what with the Commonwealth Games being covered solely with, at a British level, how would your production company have done that differently? I mean, it seems a bit one-sided at the moment.
Yeah. There has been a few things. We probably would have, tried to have Scottish presenters and try to tell it from the perspective of the host nation rather than from London. I mean, there's definitely a few weird examples of the coverage being less than stellar when it comes to actually showing off Scotland. We had the case with the bowls recently, where two Scottish athletes won gold at the bowls, but the BBC coverage cut away from them winning the gold to watch the English team in a qualifier for the hockey. And that seems crazy considering that we're the host nation and, winning gold in that moment. The coverage has been mostly fine, I think, but occasionally there are still remnants of that idea that Scotland kind of is secondary to the rest of to England in this case.
Do you think it's going to be good? Okay, this is a Scottish Independence podcast. I don't have to talk about it being good for the United Kingdom. What I'm interested in is, do you think it's going to be good for the yes vote?
I don't know, if I'm being completely honest. There's a lot to suggest that the kind of, I guess, national pride and things like that comes from these big sporting events dies quite quickly afterwards. It might not necessarily see us through to September. But at the same time, I do feel like there's a question being asked. I mean, we're hosting the Commonwealth Games, and the Commonwealth is basically made up of mostly countries that were once British colonies and have now left, and they're independent countries doing their own thing and doing it well. And I think it's impossible to not kind of see that and have that conversation. Like, I've heard that conversation with a lot of people when I've been out. I actually went out to watch the marathon running through south of Glasgow and overheard an Australian woman explaining why they were independent, and it was great, and couldn't understand why we wouldn't want that as well. I mean, on the one hand, yeah, I think there'll be pride for how well Scotland is doing, but I think the conversations that we're having because of the games and the ability to see other countries that have done really well after gaining their independence, I think that's probably going to be more important in the long term.
Do you think it's possible that it's a distraction from the real campaigning? It's a bit of flag waving, whichever flags are allowed, I suppose, but it's a bit of flag waving and a distraction from just getting on with the thing and winning it, knocking the doors and keeping at it.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's great that we're winning gold, and I can see why people might want to take a wee step out from the referendum for a little while and get some breath before the big push till September. And there's certainly been an element of trying to keep the debate quiet just now, because we are so close to September, from the no camp, with them specifically calling to not politicise the games. So there's been a wee push to try and keep things quiet, but I don't think it's worked, to be honest. Kind of focusing online, the debate continues on like anything else. If anything, it's almost taking part despite the games. It's not about the games.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll come back to your show, and then I'd like to broaden it out to the media. The reasons you outlined there for starting it were very much similar to my reasons for starting these podcasts and everything else. But when it first started to take off, did you get any kind of negative reaction? We were constantly told about, cybernats attacking unionists, but I mean, did you get any kind of negative stuff coming from the other direction?
A little bit, yeah, but not enough that I would talk about it. If anything, the response was massively positive. Like, I got a lot of support from people who said that they really appreciated the show, they really liked the way it was going, and found the information in it helpful. But on the other hand, I got a few comments on YouTube, but I think that's probably par for the course for any YouTube video. We're going to get a couple of crazies or people who are just negative or want to make a weird snipe without backing anything up.
Do you think too much is made of it? Because I mean, you're working principally online, and I think sometimes too much of it is made of it. Like an insult online. I mean, there's abuse, and then there's kind of threatening behaviour. Do you think, like, the odd comment, like he's an arsehole, or whatever, is that particularly offensive? Do you think too much is being made of this whole thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very much a kind of tactic to try and smear the Yes campaign with the whole Cybernat thing and saying that everyone online is a crazy person, because I think the No Camp fully understands that when people do go online and start to do their own research, that's when a lot of the time the transition from no to yes or from undecided to yes really takes place. So if they can make the whole online world seem like it's full of crazy ranting cybernats, then people are going to be less likely to wander into that. But no, I mean, the campaign is really civil, incredibly civil. Like, I get most of my news from following social media, which is how I kind of build the podcasts up, and for the most part, it's been great from both sides. But of course, there are a couple of crazies on each side. I mean, you had the thing recently as well with J.K. Rowling, obviously, which a massive thing was made out of it, considering how few people actually sent abuse. And then when you went and looked at it, it turned out most of the people who sent abuse didn't even live in Scotland. It's it just seems ridiculous to say that so much of the Yes camp is made up of these crazy cybernats who just shout abuse at everyone. That's not it at all. We're engaging in a debate, a massive national debate, and of course people are going to be passionate about it. But I don't think abuse is the tone that we see the most.
What do you think about the use of polls in the debate so far? I mean, it seems to me that polls are being used not as reflections of what's actually happening, but polls are being used as weapons to try and create a kind of public perception that one side is doing better or worse than the other. It seems quite unusual to me the way the polls are being used in this campaign.
Yeah, I completely agree, actually. I don't really take any stock in the polls. Even if they started to show a majority for yes, I'd be in the same position, because we've never had anything like this. The polling companies are basically guessing to an extent based on previous voter turnout, previous voter intentions, but not whether or not it's going to be a yes or no vote. And then on top of that, you've got possibly record voter turnout coming along for this. It's just, I don't see how anyone can make anything other than a guess in terms of where we actually are once you put leanings onto the polls. Whereas on the other hand, what I am seeing a lot of the time is yes campaigners, yes canvassers, the Radical Independence campaign with their national mass canvass, going door to door, chatting, having conversations, and then taking notes of yes, no's, and undecideds, and it's coming back usually with overwhelming support for yes. So I don't think either side could really be trusted completely at the moment. We'll really need to wait to September. But in terms of using it as a weapon, I completely agree that it has been. I think a lot of the time the polls are being kind of trotted out to demoralise the yes campaign. It's the same way as the media kind of used figures of people going back to work during the miners' strike as well. A lot of times the papers would report massive numbers of people drifting back to work. That a lot of the time that wasn't the case, but it was just about showing that you're losing, you can't win this. But the difference is with the miners' strike, that was kind of an ongoing thing. We have a date, like a very specific date that we have to get enough votes by. So if anything, I think the negative polling is backfiring because it's getting more people to go, right, I need to get out, I need to get involved, I need to start chapping doors, and I need to make these votes happen.
And a lot of these things have been backfiring. Also, some of the fear stories are beginning to backfire. They're finally crumbling with Juncker coming out and saying that a special case would be made for Scotland. That should be the end of that one, but no, it probably won't be. But yeah, and then you've got as a response to this, as the factual arguments of Better Together or non-factual arguments of Better Together are systematically dismantled, they seem to be moving over to things more like Vote No Borders and appeals from celebrities, which are kind of easily dismissed. The Vote No Borders stuff's very strange.
Yeah, Vote No Borders, like I said, were kind of one of the reasons I actually started making the videos, because they annoyed me the most out of all of them, I suppose, because their claims were the ones that seemed to be the most ridiculous, as well as quite obviously being a front from somewhere run outside of Scotland. Like this kind of stuff I'd mentioned in my first video about how they can't spell Scottish place names, or they're saying, go see our new advert at G1, blah, blah, I give the post address. And but it was Central Station, and if they'd known Glasgow, they would have known to say, go see our advert at Central Station. It's kind of hard to miss.
Yeah.
I think it's like these claims, they do crumble, and kind of the rolling out of celebrities and everything else, like the whole love bombing thing, I don't think that's really working either, because you're seeing things like with the border rally, which was this big thing that was going on for ages about walking the length of the border, and then it got cancelled because no one wanted to go to it. And then there was the hands across the border thing. It's like, let's show some love for Scotland, and it got cancelled because nobody was bothering to go to it. And now they're building a big stone cairn.
If anybody bothers to go.
Right, exactly. In fact, they're still lagging way behind in terms of their fundraising for it, because they're asking for a ridiculous amount of money for some rocks. Yeah, it's like the love bombing campaign isn't working, I don't think. People saw right through the Let's Stay Together video with Ross Kemp and all the rest of them. If anything, a lot of people felt really patronised by it, because we're in the middle of this massive grassroots campaign. We're talking about the future of Scotland, about this, trying to build a country that's a beacon of social progress, and all these like things that are very ambitious about what we're doing with the country. And then we kind of get a video like, oh, we like you, don't go. And it feels like, do you have any idea what's happening in Scotland just now? Like the conversations that we're actually having, because it seems like they completely missed the point.
Yeah, no, they think they can pat it down with just some, here's a celebrity and stay quiet. But to secure a yes victory, we need to get that Crankies video. Somebody needs to hack some computer somewhere. I'm not interested how you do it. Get that Crankies video and get it online.
Oh yeah, that would definitely swing the vote.
And in case anyone thinks that was incitement to law breaking, I was joking. I wouldn't know how to hack a golf ball down a fairway, so that's the only thing I can say there. But yeah, to come back to yourself a little bit, how did you first become interested in the kind of media side of things and video production? Was it something you did at university, or something that always interested you?
Yeah, well, it was something that always interested me from a very young age. I went to the University of Glasgow and studied theatre when I was there. But if anything, my kind of passion for it started to come out when I got involved with the Glasgow Uni student TV group, GUST, where I actually met a lot of the people that I'm working with now, with the company that I run. And it was kind of from that, we all got on together. We all had a passion for trying to make film and video, and we basically ended up forming a company together because that's what we wanted to do. We'd sort of all graduated in the middle of the recession. There was no work that we could find, and we're all kind of like struggling in our own little ways. And we thought if we kind of pooled the resources that we had, like we had a few bits of kit here and there, and see what we could do with it. And that was 3 years ago, and we're actually doing pretty well. So I mean, we've all got an interest in the media. It's just that I happen to be using mine for the Yes campaign now.
So, and it's getting the publicity, but obviously because it's extremely well done as well. So to get back to yourself personally, the question I ask everyone every week is, what was it that made you decide that indie was the best way to go? Is it something you've always felt, or was there a specific incident, or just looking at the facts?
Well, that's actually quite an interesting one, because I don't remember the moment that I realised I was voting yes. Like, for a long time, my heart always said yes, but my head was very much taken in with the there's just too many unanswered questions nonsense. And I hadn't really looked into it too much, and it probably didn't help that my first experience with a Yes campaigner was they couldn't answer any questions that I had, which kind of put me off for a little while. But I still kind of went away and I did my own research and saw that the whole there's just too many unanswered questions thing was kind of nonsense, because when you start to dig, you start to get an idea of what this debate's really about. But as for the specific moment where I was voting yes, I don't remember what it was, but when people ask me, I still say that I think the strongest reason that I have for wanting to support yes is that there's a massive democratic deficit in the UK at the moment. We have one Tory MP from Scotland, but we're ruled by a Tory government. We're such a small country compared to just even the south of England, never mind the rest of it, that if we vote one way and they vote another, we'll get the government that they want, and that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, especially when you start to look at voting trends in Scotland. Like we do vote differently. We do have a different, I hesitate to say values, but we do tend to go after different politicians and different parties. So to be governed by another country and have the government that they decide we should have, that doesn't make any sense.
No, I'd have to agree with you. And just one last little question before we go. How do you feel that an independent Scotland would benefit people in your sector, like you're in video production? And I've actually had a few guests on over the period saying that independence would be great for this sector because everything has to go through London. But do you think it would really make a big difference?
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we do is corporate video, and if we're talking about trying to make policies that benefit Scotland and have more companies working in Scotland, that ultimately means more work for anyone who works with companies, which we do. But even in terms of the film industry, I think having an independent Scotland that has control over its own finances and can be funneling money into the film industry, can be funneling money into a studio that we've already lost a bunch of times, I don't see how that could be bad for us. I think that'd be great, and I think that there would be a stronger focus on the arts in an independent Scotland, because we'd have control over the money that we're raising and could put that where we wanted it.
And do you think we're going to win?
I think we can win. I don't think there's any space for complacency just now. I think we need to keep pushing to make it happen. But I think if we keep pushing up to September, I think we're going to get it.
Me too. Thank you, Stephen, for coming on. That's been great.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So that was Stephen. I hope you enjoyed that. As usual, there's lots more lined up. We've got different guests lined up to come on this podcast. We've got For All That in the pipeline, and we've also got the Scott Indie book series, which I don't know if you heard recently, but Leslie Riddick was kind enough to donate part of her book Blossom to that, so you should try and have a listen to that one as well. As usual on this podcast, the guest gets to choose the tune, and this is what Stephen chose, so I'll speak to you next time.
Exile, it takes your mind again. Exile, it takes your mind again. You got suckers luck. Have you given up? Does it feel like a trial? Does it trouble your mind the way you trouble mine? Don't even try. You got suckers love, and you give up. Does it feel like a trial? Does it trouble your mind the way you trouble mine? Does it feel like a trial?